Welcome to Legacy Boxing Showcase, sponsored by Legacy Boxing Promotions. I'm Ed Nunez, along with Austin Killeen. And Austin, in our second segment, we'll have Juan Nunez, president of the Golden Gloves, on as our guest. He's in the studio now, and he's been a long history of boxing here in New Mexico, as far as being involved, being a trainer, judge, the whole thing. So I can't wait to talk to him. You're coming off some jet lag a little bit. You just had a trip to Ireland. I talked to you, and you told me quite an adventure out there.
Well, I'm trying to recapture my brogue over in Ireland. Of course, that's all you hear. What are you doing, laddie? And you have to repeat, and you still can't understand them. So finally, you agree with them, because you just don't know what they're saying.
Well, that must have been quite a trip, because you were out there, what, 8 days?
I had to leave 10 days, but I had to leave here to go to meet up with all the other people in Boston. So while they were in bed, I was up at 4:30 in the morning. And now tomorrow I'm flying out again, going to the East Coast.
Back to where you originated from.
Right.
And you've made New Mexico a home since 2000.
I came out here in 2006, but in 2009 officially.
You've been here 9 years, so
I love it out here.
You're almost 505'd out like the rest of us, man. We're all sick. The land of entrapment, I call it sometimes. But I love New Mexico with all my heart and soul. Austin, a couple of topics we want to get to before we get Juan on. Ronnie Baca.
Hey, well, there's two Ronnie Bacas. We have the welterweight, the Mongoose, who's very good, and apparently it runs the name because Ronnie Baca, the heavyweight from Gallup, just fought a draw in Houston, Texas earlier this month against a fighter who was coming off an 8-bout win streak with 7 knockouts, and they fought to a draw. And Ronnie Baca is under the radar. He's had, if you count as no decision, which counts, he's had 16 pro fights. He's only lost 3 times. And no one seems to know about him here. I don't think he's ever fought in Albuquerque, and he's only fought 3 times in the state. He's about 5'11", 260 to 70 pounds. So he looks like the Michelin tire man. Wow. But he's got incredibly light feet. He moves around the ring like a dancer, which shocks his opponents and the spectators. And he has a left jab like a snake's tongue. It just flicks out, and it's very accurate, and it's annoying. He's really not much of a puncher, despite weighing so much.
Besides being a big man, like you said, the Michelin guy.
I hope he's not hearing this.
I'm just trying to get you.
No, Ron, he's a good friend of mine. I kid him all the time.
We can't have these boxers coming in here wanting to beat us up, Austin. Yeah, you might be able to take a punch better than me, but hey.
No, Ed said that, Ronnie. I didn't say that. I was just writing a script. No, he's a great guy, great sense of humor. But I can't believe someone hasn't grabbed him and done something with him.
You've been mentioning him a lot. We've got about a minute left in this segment, and real quick, because I want to talk to Juan Nunez about this as well. Josh Pitbull Torres called out by Christian Cabral in Killeen's corner. Austin Killeen from Killeen's corner. Your initial thoughts, and we got about a minute, and we'll get Juan Nunez in here to weigh in.
Christian's been calling him out since 2013, when he had about 2 fights. I don't know what it is, but Christian is now married and has a child of his own. When I first met him, he was 17. So he's matured a lot. And he's kind of lost that punk edge that he had at one time, which I found kind of endearing. But, Josh has always been a mature person. And I think Christian, as he gets older, we all get mature.
What kind of fight do you think it would be? You pretty much put it in here. We've got about 30 seconds, and we'll get Juan in the way in too. But what do you think?
The punching edge goes to Josh. They're both physically very strong. If they lock up in clinches, I don't see either one having the edge over the other. And you saw, I think you saw Christian's fight where he beat the fighter from California over in, and Christian kept getting stronger as the fight went on. At the end of the 6th round, he was clearly ready to go more rounds.
We'll have to see what happens with that fight, but we'll have Juan Nunez on in the next segment. We'll be back with more of Legacy Boxing Showcase after these messages.
Comes Atkins as he'll send 2 in motion, including Williams. Atkins, he can move, gonna fire on the run, and He's going to go for it. Oh, he had the pump fake and the bite as Kelly will celebrate. Holbrook's going to hand it off again to Kelly, and he makes his way. As Holbrook takes a low snap, fires Holbrook to the end zone. Yes, holding on. It's a touchdown. Holbrook going to hand it off to Kelly. Kelly makes his way to the 5 and all the way in. Take it to Brown. Atkins going to fire to the end zone. It would be a tough catch if it is. That's Bray in motion to the far side. Davis going to go deep. He's got him. Dello Davis. Touchdown. It's tipped. Oh, and Reese Jr. is going to get a free. There's two in motion on the far side. Here comes the blitz. Atkins steps up. Look out. He's got a lot of speed, and he points out a block. Atkins going to take it all the way. He takes it the distance. It's a 28-yard touch. Handoff is to Bray. And Bray's going to go the other way. He's going to pick up a block from Holbrook. Look out, Antonio Bray.
When I train for American Ninja Warrior, I schedule regular workouts to stay in shape. To keep my car in Ninja Tough shape, I head to a Napa Auto Care Center for regular maintenance and genuine Napa Auto parts. Like brakes and batteries. I trust my Napa Auto Care Center for quality parts and quality service. And with the 24-month, 24,000-mile nationwide warranty, I drive away with peace of mind every time. Visit AutoCareNM.com to find a location near you.
The Barley Room, proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering, let us bring our kitchen to you.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Welcome back to Legacy Boxing Showcase, sponsored by Legacy Boxing Promotions. I'm Ed Nunez, joined by Austin Colleen. Our special guest in studio is Juan Nunez, president of the Golden Gloves. And Austin Colleen, you came back from Ireland. You got a little something for us. What do you got?
Well, I didn't realize till I got to Ireland, but Nunez is actually an Irish name. So that caught me by surprise. And I know you guys are brothers. Juan says he's the younger one. So if you'll take one and pass one on. And hopefully.
Thank you very much, Austin. Very much. Ireland for the cameras.
Let's hope there's not a sibling rivalry here.
We didn't know that Nunez was an Irish name, Juan, so now we just learned something. Austin Colleen, always full of surprises. Juan, welcome to the show, and you're the president of the Golden Gloves, and also you've served in New Mexico as the president of New Mexico Sports, Boxing Sports Hall of Fame, Boxing Hall of Fame. So you've got some fights coming up you wanted to talk about with the Golden Gloves, and tell us about it.
Yes, sir. On the 28th of April, we will have a regional tournament. New Mexico and Colorado share a franchise, and we box off to see who goes to national in Omaha, Nebraska. That's May 9th through 19th in Omaha, Nebraska. We'll fight here on the 28th at 2 p.m. at Mountain View Community Center. We have 5 open class fighters in the men's and 3 in the female. 3 of them look really good to do well at the nationals. We have Shariah at 165 pounds, and she's rated number 3 in the world. And then we have Abraham Pettis, who's 114 pounds, and he looks tough. He'll be going up. And,
One of the Pettis?
Yes, from Pettis Boxing.
Right.
And he's younger brother to Aaron Angel Pettis, the pro now. And he also went to the nationals for us. And then we have a young fella, Xavier Madrid, really looks hot. 152 pounds, he can hit with either hand, and he really looks strong. The other 3 fighters in the men's division, they look okay, but not as strong as Abraham or Xavier. Both of those young men really looked strong at the state tournament in Clovis.
I got some questions I'd like to ask, but Austin, you go first.
Well, you mentioned you had 3 girls. Now,
Yes.
the girls have 10 divisions, the same as the boys?
Absolutely. This is the first year that Golden Gloves invites the women to box and go to the national tournament, just like the boys. Normally they have their own tournament, but this year they're going to join the Golden Gloves, and we're going to take men and women to the national tournament.
Now, between the men and the women, that's 20 divisions,
Yes,
but we only have 8 fighters,
that's correct.
and we're
It's-
hosting the...
It's really sad that we continue to get hammered by USA Boxing, the one that licensed all these fighters and insures these fighters. They seem to continue to add more and more rules. I remember 1965, I believe there was a year, 14 years, 9 months, Earl Large was in the finals at 89 pounds at 112-pound division. And he was a national champion at the age of 16. And we've had several fighters that are under 18. This year, USA Boxing required that fighters be 18 years old to compete in Golden Gloves. And they seem to continue to make rules that really hurt us, Austin.
Now, what is the open for USA Boxing?
It's younger than that. I believe it's 17.
17, and
Yes,
it's
sir.
at the end of the year,
Yes, sir.
where you have to be 18 when you step into the ring.
At state tournament date, which was this year was was April 13th, you had to have been 18 years of age.
So why is there 2 sets of rules?
Because I've heard, and this is just alleged from people talking, that USA Boxing wants to get rid of Golden Gloves.
Well, they seem to be doing a good job. If
Well, I think
are.
they may be running me off. I'll tell you, I'm an old man, and I think it may be running me off because these rules just really hurt us, and it's hard to get fighters to come and fight. And by the time a kid is 18 years old, if he's good and if he's salty, he'll turn pro. He won't stay around and do the amateur shows. Some of them turn pro at age 16 or 17. So even though in the States sometimes that's prohibited, they go to Mexico or someplace else and turn pro at the age of 16.
You know, Juan, Golden Gloves has been around for a number of years, so why would you think that USA, again, I understand because you would know, you're behind the scenes, you've been involved in boxing 40, 50 years.
Yes, sir.
So why you know, Mike Adams and I had you on a
Yes,
radio
sir.
show about 5 months ago. Why would you think that? Because, you know, your opinion
Well,
means a lot. It really does regarding that.
I go to the Nationals and we listen to the 30 franchise holders, and they really slam USA Boxing for all the hurt. It costs $80 to register annually, and all that money goes to USA Boxing. Sure, they insure us, but the insurance is real weak anyway. But the insurance going to and from the fights, and it seems like all that money goes to USA Boxing, so they can promote shows and hurt our shows. And yet, when we promote a show, we have to pay a $400 sanction fee, and then we have to continue to pay and make money for USA Boxing. Golden Gloves only gets revenue from TV and the actual show at the Nationals. We provide all the funding to these young men going to the Nationals. USA Boxing does not provide funding for these kids. They strictly provide a very weak insurance, which is $1,000 deductible is the insurance they provide them. And then they require every official to pay to be an official. They require every trainer to pay to become a trainer. Here you're doing voluntary work, and yet it's costing you every time. And this is an annual thing. You have to pay background checks and things like that. And to me, if you're 70 or older and you haven't gotten in trouble yet, you probably won't. Or if you have been in trouble, then you need to be scrutinized thoroughly. But we didn't have problems when I coached in the 60s and I boxed in the 60s. We never had problems. But the cost was 50 cents a year in 1960 to be a member of the Boys Club. And today, you have these community centers. They're paying coaches to coach, and it's become very expensive to box anymore. And then USA comes on top of that and adds additional fees. Physicals annually required that are expensive. And it seems like they just continue to add rules and rules that hurt boxing in general, and especially Golden Gloves.
Awesome.
Well, the Golden Gloves started in 1928. When did USA Boxing first form?
I'm not sure of that date, Austin. I apologize for not knowing that information. I should, because I'm a member of USA Boxing just for the purposes of being able to work at a corner or to coach a kid. And sometimes I'll go down and help Henry Anaya with his boxers. But I stopped coaching. It just takes a lot of time and devotion to do that. And I stopped coaching, but I did have a lot of fun when I did coach. I may be the youngest coach of record to go to the Nationals. I was 20 years old when I took a team to San Diego in 1967, and we ranked 5th out of 37 teams, 1 from Cuba, 2 from Mexico, and 34 from the U.S., and we came out 5th in the nation that year, with Earl Large being a national champion.
Recent Boxing Hall of Fame inductee, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I remember you reading his name. I remember the story you told on the mic with Mike Adams. I remember that story.
Yes, sir.
You saying that. But keep going. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. That was just a great story when
I've
you
just
told
enjoyed boxing, and boxing has done a lot for me. I was a kid with a broken home, and I used to be Johnny Brito through my stepfather. He didn't like to be called Mr. Nunez. They say, Mr. Nunez, you have a pretty good boy. And he'd be all embarrassed. He'd say, I'm Joe Brito, I'm not Nunez. And so they changed my name. They adopted me and changed my name. And then I changed it back to Nunez, my original name. But they've done a lot for me. Willie Hall is my first coach in Roswell. And then later on, Sammy Burke, a tremendous individual who has done a lot for boxing and for youth. He himself also came from the streets and has helped many, many people spend a lot of money out of his pocket for these youths. And he helped me become who I am today. If it were not for him, I would have never become a lieutenant colonel in the Army. I'd have never graduated from college. I'd have never done a lot of things that I've done and been a successful married man for 50 years. I'm very fortunate to have had Sammy Burke and his family in my life.
It's kind of funny. I had basketball for me, basketball coaching, playing, reffing. I think we've all had connections. Austin, boxing. Austin, go ahead. We got about 3 minutes left in this segment, then we'll have another one.
Well, just backing up your story, I didn't learn to read or write till I was 20. I was a high school dropout. And boxing taught me discipline. Wow. And the only time I had self-value was through boxing. And finally, someone said to me that stupidity was a choice, and I was doing a great job at it. And I looked at, and then he helped me.
That sounds like something Austin Colleen would tell someone. So.
Yes.
Yeah, it really does. Keep going, Austin. I'm sorry.
No, but all the other, this was in basic training, they're all looking at me, and he made everybody else leave. And he was a graduate of Northwestern, and he pulled out a book and made me read, and it was embarrassing. He said, "There's no one here but me." And then he told me, "You go back to school, sit in the front row, and stare at the teacher." He says, you may not know anything, and I'm pretty sure you don't, but he says, you'll start to get better. And I can remember when I finally got my first C-. For me, that was Dean's List.
Well, you know, when I was a teacher, Austin, talking about that, I used to tell the kids about boxing and things like that. And we would bet push-ups on a grade. And, you know, just a little enthusiasm from a coach. And basically, that's what I was in the math class, algebra 1, 2, and geometry. I was coaching these kids to become better people. And we went through a lot of kids that had hardships that really did well.
Well, mentioning basketball, I had a few friends who came from tough backgrounds, and the basketball gave them discipline because you're on the floor with 4 other people, and they're depending on you.
Yes.
And no one would ever depend on these kids for anything.
Oh, that's right.
So sports in general is a great way to reach out to someone and pull them up by the bootstraps.
Well, look what it did. You know, we won't mention him in the next segment. Well, look what it did for our recent New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame inductee, Johnny Tapia. Look what it did for Johnny. You know, it really pulled him up from some bad places. And your 5-time world champion finally gets into the New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame. Should have been done a number of years ago. Thank God he's in.
I was shocked when I found out that he hadn't been in when you told me.
He was a great individual, and to me, I have met many, many fighters and many world champions. He was the greatest gentleman boxer I have ever met, and I was chairman of the New Mexico
You've had
Commission.
so many hats.
At the New Mexico, I forgot
That
the
says a
name.
lot.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, we'll be back for one more segment on Legacy Boxing Showcase after these messages.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Locally loved restaurants like Farina Pizzeria, Farina Alto, and the Artichoke Cafe are the perfect venue for your next event. Farina Alto has traditional Italian food, plus handcrafted cocktails in a beautiful Northeast Heights location. Farina Pizzeria with a downtown vibe, amazing affordable wines, and local beer. And the Artichoke Cafe has set the standard for casual fine dining since 1989. Visit our family of restaurants and see what fine dining is all about.
Welcome back to Legacy Boxing Showcase, sponsored by Legacy Boxing Promotions. I'm Ed Nunez, along with Austin Colleen. In the studio with us is Juan Nunez, the president of the Golden Gloves. And Juan, what a pleasure to have you on, man. I mean, such
Thank you, sir.
boxing history.
It's an honor to be here.
A lot of respect for you, man, really.
Thank you.
And, you know, just to hear you talk about my father, I told Austin,
Yes.
my father did some fighting, you know, in the East San Jose, in the San Jose neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
And he told me that one guy knocked him out. His name was K.O. Sanchez. And I don't know who this guy was, but he must have been backyard fighting, you know, boxing gloves.
Right.
But even in the 70s, I would throw hooks at my dad. He'd still block. And, oh, yeah. So, you know, he knew his way. He loved, you know, my love for boxing came from my father.
Yes,
so
sir.
we'd sit there and we'd watch boxing matches together. He didn't like Ali, and I imagine it's because my dad was a World War II vet and probably didn't like the idea that Muhammad Ali didn't, you know, go into service.
Right.
Loved Joe Louis. Oh, he loved boxing. Gosh, he loved it. So the love of boxing definitely comes from my father.
And he was a super patriot.
Oh, so my father was too.
Yes,
My
yes.
father's a Purple Heart
Yes.
winner, man.
Oh, my gosh,
yeah, my
yes.
father, you know what? One of those old guys that never said, he never said, son, I was sitting on the ridge there, never said a word about the war,
Oh, me
ever.
too.
Never.
Yeah.
I had to find out stuff from other people.
Yes.
But that was the old generation, the greatest generation, they say, that ever lived. Austin, go ahead.
I salute
Well, I
your
just
dad.
want to, I don't want to brag, but when I was in the Army, I got injured. I cut my finger on KP when I was peeling it.
Ba-boom. There's the one-liner. Yeah.
And I didn't realize our first president, George Washington, was a fighter, and Juan told me, I guess they went to school together.
That's right.
The wooden teeth?
Yeah.
Juan, you have no wooden teeth, right?
No,
Juan
sir.
sat on it.
Juan, you know, there's a fight coming up that I think we want to get your opinion on. It's being proposed, and that's Josh Pitbull Torres, who was a guest in studio of ours twice. I just love that kid. He's so poised, and I love the example he has for his kid. Christian Cabral called him out about after the Route 66, Route to Glory.
Right.
Called him out a little bit. And Austin has these rankings. These Albuquerqueans are bunched up together.
Right.
You probably think they're going to fight each other somewhere along the line. What's your opinion of Cabral possibly versus Pitbull Torres? We don't even know if it's going to happen, but at first glance, what do you think?
Well, I like Pitbull Torres. I think that he has a harder punch, and if he doesn't try to knock the kid out, he may knock him out. If he thinks he's going to knock him out, then it doesn't come. They say you fight your fight, and if you fight your fight, the KO will come. And because he does it a little harder, I think, and is able to deliver that hard right, I favor him a little bit, not much, but I think it's going to be a good fight. I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I enjoy seeing him fight when I do see him fight. But I go with Pitbull Torres.
We'll see. Again, there's so many things that have to happen around the edges to even make that happen. Austin.
Well, Christian actually called him out back in 2013. He's been calling him out forever.
Right.
And Josh is my barber. I've always liked Josh. From the first time I met him, he had a baby, he had responsibility. And he was much more mature than Christian at the time. Christian was 17. And now Christian, as you get older, you suddenly have bills to pay and you start to mature. And Christian's a lot more like Josh Torres than he'd probably like to admit. And when they fought last year in April 1st, fight card, which you were with me,
Right.
Josh coming over to Christian, and Christian had his little boy with him, and he paid him a beautiful compliment. And it was great. If you wanted to slam Christian, that was the best way, because he didn't expect a compliment. And he almost turned inside out, because what could he say? Josh said, congratulate him on being a father.
That took the steam out of some things.
Oh, it was like
unexpected.
And I cracked up, and I was talking to Josh about it last week. You couldn't have done a better thing to get into your opponent.
And unexpected.
Unexpected.
You didn't come up and chest up? Or
No, none of this. And Christian,
tongue-tied. Didn't know what to say.
oh, you had no idea what to
Juan,
say.
we got about a minute left,
Yes,
so
sir.
if you could tell us about that event again, the Golden Gloves, and what date it is, and where, how much, the whole thing.
It's on the 28th of April. It's a Saturday. It happens at 2 p.m. at Mountain View Community Center. The cost is $10 adults, $7 for seniors and veterans, and $5 for children. And those kids 5 and under are free. So come over, bring your family, and support these kids. We need the money to take this team to the Nationals. It costs a lot of money to go to Omaha, and we hope to take several of these kids to the Nationals, and we pay all their expenses. We're the only organization that does that.
Austin Killeen, one parting shot.
Well, make sure you give me my shirts back after.
Ba-boom, there's the drum roll again. We'll be back in a couple of weeks for another episode of Legacy Boxing Showcase for producer Josh Brown, Austin Killeen, our special guest Juan Nunez. I'm Ed Nunez. So long.